Find the slope of the line that passes through the pair of points 1711 and 2119. So just use the slope formula. It's even on my wall. y2 is 19, y1 is 11, x2 21, x1 17. 8 over 4, slope is 2. Okay. Next one. Write an equation in slope-intercept form One thing John Baylor, those of you who have not gone through his course for the ACT prep, one thing he always says is as you read a question in math, just write down what you know as you're going. Because at some point when you're stuck, you may be able to go back to some things you wrote down and figure out what they're asking. So this says write an equation in slope-intercept form. I just stopped. I wrote the form, slope-intercept form here, just so I can remember what I'm looking for. Parallel, let's see, from the line that satisfies the following condition. It passes through 810, and it's parallel to the graph of y equals 8/3 x plus 7. Well, if it's parallel to this line, what is special about a slope that's parallel to this line? Has the same slope. What's the slope of this line? 8/3. So I can get this far. But now I've got to figure out how to find b. Well, to find b, you use the point that's given, which was 810, and I plug it in for x and y. 10 equals 8/3 times 8 plus b. And now I'm just simplifying and solving. So 10 equals 64/3 plus b. Well, 10 is 30/3 minus 64/3 is equal to negative 34/3. That goes back in for b here, so it should be 8/3 x minus 34/3. Now, letter C. Write an equation in slope-intercept form. So I'm back to y equals mx plus b. It gives me the slope this time. So it's going to be y equals 1/2 x plus b. Passes through 4, negative 17. Just plug in that point for x and y. 4 times 1/2 is 2. Then I subtract 2. b is equal to negative 19. That goes back in for b here, and it should be 1/2 x minus 19. Right? Number 4, write the standard form. Well, standard form is ax plus by equals c. And it passes through the point 4,1, and it's parallel to this line, and it goes through point 4,1. Okay? How do I find, what's the fastest way for me to find slope if it's given to me in standard form? Negative a over b. The other way to find the slope of this line is to solve for y and get it into y equals mx plus b and find m. But the fastest way, if you guys like the fast way, negative a over b. Negative 3 over 2. That's the slope of this line. And I want the line of that's parallel to this line. So what's the slope of the new line going to have? Negative 3 over 2. So I'm going to go ahead and start it in slope-intercept form and convert it to standard form after I'm done. So I'm going to put the point in 4,1. So 1 equals negative 3 over 2 times 4 plus b. 1 equals, this is 1, this is 2, so that's negative 6. Add 6. I know b is 7. So I'm getting closer. I have the slope-intercept form, but I have to get it into standard form. Right? It's negative 3/2 is the slope, and I just found b to be 7. So I'm going to put it into standard form by adding 3/2 x to both sides. I feel like I'm done, but I'm not. One thing with standard form is you can't have fractions as A, B. A and B and C must be integers, which is why none of the answers have a fraction for the answer. So how can I get rid of the fraction? Yes, multiply everything by 2. Now I look and see, is that one of my choices? Yes, letter D. Number 5. Which of the following best describes the graph of the equations below? Okay, I'm going to solve for y by just dividing everything by 3 and dividing everything by 8. And now I'm going to look at my choices. Well, the lines are parallel is one choice. Are these slopes the same? No, one's 2, one's negative 1/2. Are the lines perpendicular? Yes. The next two have to do with the same y-intercept. That's not true. And x-intercept, that's not true. But the slopes are definitely the opposite reciprocal of each other. So these are definitely perpendicular lines. Number 6, you've got 4 graphs. They asked us to find the x and y intercept of 11x plus 12y equals 8. Well, the x-intercept happens when y is 0. The y-intercept happens when x is 0. So all I have to do is really make this 0. So this goes away, and I'm just left with 12y equals 8. So y is equal to 2/3. Is that right? Yes. Then cover up the y, and x is equal to 8/11. Those are your x and y intercepts. Forget the graphs, because the graphs are all the same, aren't they? What's different is the x and y intercepts in the answers. Well, C is the only one that meets this. X is 8/11, y is 2/3. Number 7. Write the equation 8y equals 3/16 x minus 0.5 in standard form. Well, standard form means everything needs to be on the left. But I'm back to the same problem. I get it in standard form, and none of my answers are here. Well, that's because we still have non-integer numbers for A, B, and C. So I'm going to try and figure out whether I can make my answer look like one of these. First thing I'm probably going to do is get rid of the 16 by multiplying everything by 16. Negative 3x, 16 times 8, 128. And 16 times 1/2 is 4, or 8, sorry. Okay, I'm getting closer. But what I'm seeing here is none of these answers have a negative a. All of them are positive a. So how can I make a positive? Yeah, I could first, just to make it positive, I could just multiply a negative number, negative 1 all the way through. And that would be minus equals 8. Right? Just flips every sign. I'm getting closer. Now I can just go ahead and multiply by 10 to get letter C. 30x minus 1280y equals 80. Number 8. In 1980, the average price of a home in Brainerd County was $100,000. By 86, the average price of a home was $112,000. Which of the following is a linear model for the price of a home in Brainerd County in terms of the year t? Let 0 correspond to 1980. So at year 0, which is 1980, the price of a home was $100,000. 6 years later, so that would be year 6, the price of the home is $112,000. So now I have 2 points on this line. I'm trying to find the equation for this line. 1 point is actually the y-intercept, isn't it? Because it happened when x is 0. So the y-intercept for this equation must be what value? 100,000. So it's only going to be A or D. Now I've got to narrow down the slope. Well, how do I find the slope if I'm given 2 points? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's 12,000 over, is that right, 6, which is 2,000. So the slope is 2,000. That's letter A. P equals 2,000 t, so the slope's 2,000, y-intercept's 100,000. Number 9, write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that satisfies the following condition. Passes through 1016 and is perpendicular to 9x plus 12y equals 15. Who can tell me quickly what the slope is?
4/3. Negative 4/3.
Of this line or the line I'm looking for?
3/4 is this.
3/4 is the slope.
Negative 3/4 is the slope here. So 4/3 is the slope perpendicular, right? Negative a over b is the slope of this one, which is negative 9 over 12, which is negative 3/4. So if I take the opposite and flip it, I'm looking for a line with the slope of 4/3. And I'm just going to plug in 10 and 16. And solve for b. And 16, whoops, is what, 48/3 minus 40/3, which is 8/3. So it should be y equals 4/3 x plus 8/3, letter B. Then finally the graph. Graph the line that passes through 1, 4 and is parallel to the line whose slope is 0.4, negative 0.4. So A and D are automatically out because the slope of those two lines are 0. The other two both have negative slopes, so it could be either one, but there's only one line there that passes through the point 1, 4. Which is it?
C.
C. Not even any math there. Had to pass through the point 1, 4. Okay, that is the quiz. I'd like